Hello gorgeous people, and today I want to talk about progesterone, which, if you recall watching part 4 of my bioidentical hormone replacement journey series, we tested my progesterone and it was very, very sad and low. I think we tested during my luteal phase. We tested on day 20, and from the Google research I'm doing, I think the luteal phase is the second half of your cycle, and it happens after ovulation, which happens in the middle of your cycle. And your cycle starts, day 1 is the first bleeding day. Whether it's a little bit of bleeding or a lot, day 1 is your first day of bleeding. And then you enter the follicular phase. So on my tests of hormones like estrogen, testosterone and progesterone, they've got the different phases so they can track where normal would be for each phase of the cycle. And my progesterone was 0.6, which is very low. That would be even low for the follicular phase, which could be anywhere up to 4. And it looks like they've tested nanomoles per liter, but I don't know what the units of measurement mean. It could be different in Australia, different in America. Just to know that 4 to 8 is the ovulation phase and 4 to 84 is in the luteal phase, and I reckon my day 20 is in the luteal phase. I think ovulation occurs around day 14 or 15. If I have a longer cycle than normal, perhaps I was closer to the ovulation phase. Even then, my progesterone is low. So it's almost undetectable, which is not what you want when you are ovulating. So I am getting periods and my estrogen is low but normal. So assuming that I have released an egg, the release of the egg should trigger the rise of, there's a hair here, the rise of progesterone. And then the progesterone rises, first your estradiol rises, then your progesterone rises to help prepare the uterine lining, the endometrium, which is the inside of the uterine lining, to receive a baby, or an egg. And then as progesterone drops off towards the end of your cycle, if there's no fertilized egg, you have your period and you shed your lining. So that's what I've learned. If you are anything like me, you would know or would have known nothing about it. Progesterone. I knew nothing up until I got it tested. And then I was so curious. What is progesterone? What does it do? Why do I need it? Why has the doctor put me on a progesterone bioidentical cream? Is it important? Should I be taking it? Do I need it? What are the side effects? What will I feel when I'm on it? So I've done a bit of research. One source of information that has been quite helpful is Barbara Taylor, MD, gynecologist. She has a whole YouTube channel all about perimenopause and menopause, and she does talk about the different sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone for women. She explains progesterone and estrogen like this. Estrogen is the female hormone. It's the hormone that is uniquely female, although men have small amounts of it. Testosterone is more the male hormone, although we have small amounts of it. And progesterone is the baby hormone. Progesterone. So it's the hormone that is there to support a pregnancy and a baby. It's not really a hormone for us as such, but it does work in conjunction with estrogen. So what I'm learning is that in perimenopause, which it would seem that I am in, progesterone drops off first. It's one of the hormones that drops lower first. Then your testosterone does just a slow, gradual decline. So as your testosterone is dropping off, your progesterone is dropping off maybe further first, and then later your estrogen drops lower. So there will be your perimenopause years where your estrogen is higher in relation to your progesterone. My progesterone is rock bottom, And there could be many reasons why this is. It could be due to stress. Cortisol, apparently, high cortisol levels or high stress levels steal or detract the body from thinking about reproduction, and then it doesn't really produce enough progesterone. Ovulation itself is the signal to your body to produce progesterone. So when you ovulate, you release an egg, and then the body signals, or progesterone is released then to prepare the uterine lining, and then it also stops it from getting too thick. Now, this is the key thing about progesterone that I'm learning. As Menopause Barbie, or Menopause Taylor, her channel is called, has educated me from watching her videos. Perimenopausal and postmenopausal women who still have their uterus, which I do, we need progesterone to prevent uterine cancer. And this is how it works. If you Google progesterone, it says that progesterone thickens the uterine lining, but according to Menopause Taylor, she says that estrogen thickens and progesterone thins the uterus, or the uterine lining, the endometrium. Upon deeper research, what I found is that as estrogen rises, that lining thickens. I'm not sure if it's a correlation or whether it's the estrogen itself doing it. And then progesterone rises as well after ovulation. The lining is nice and thick, but it seems to be that the progesterone stops it from over-thickening, because without the progesterone, it gets too thick and there's too many cells, which in and of itself is not a problem, but could become cancerous. So what we want ideally is to have progesterone in our system, or even in our vaginas or near the uterus, to prevent the over thickening, like the uncontrolled growing of that uterine lining, which could then become cancerous. So progesterone directly prevents uterine cancer, which is why it's very important if you have your uterus. If you don't, you don't need it. So these are the things I'm learning. Progesterone, if it's low, can cause mood swings and brain fog, which I would say I've been feeling lately. It is related to your overall health. Having progesterone in your system keeps your HDL, your good, big, fluffy cholesterol, nice and high. So although it's natural for it to drop off, I'm guessing we wouldn't want it to be too low too soon, as in my case, which is why immediately the doctors prescribed me a cream, progesterone gel, bioidentical, which I have to use from days 8 to days 26 of my cycle. I guess naturally I would get a slow rise and an increase and then a drop off. He didn't say to sort of increase the dose over the day 8 to day 26, but he said I must stop it at day 26, and then I would probably have a period 2 or 3 days after I stop, which makes sense because it's the drop off in progesterone naturally that either causes or coincides with, I'm not too sure, coincides with your period. I think it's the cause. You see, there's so many questions. I have many questions and I have found some answers, but it's fascinating. It really is fascinating. And I'm a natural researcher and a natural sharer. And I just want to give you the information that I'm learning for myself here in South Africa. Look, the info is universal. We're a woman regardless of where we come from. And it might just help you understand. So, yes, if your progesterone is low, you do need it if you have a uterus. If you don't have a uterus, then perhaps if you're postmenopausal, you can get away with not having any progesterone. Now, to wrap up, I don't or didn't feel any specific symptoms that I can directly correlate to having low progesterone. But then again, if you remember from my other videos, my testosterone has also tested low. So it could be that I've been feeling out of sorts because both are low. It could be that one being low has triggered the other to be low. As I've said in my previous video in part 4, I think in general it's been a lot of emotional stress that has caused some hormonal imbalances. And yes, emotional stress absolutely can do that. My mother said when her father died, she skipped, I think it was 1 or 2 periods. So her body stopped ovulating. Mine has done that when I did 2 marathons quite close to each other, and I didn't have a period for 2 months. So yes, physical stress, emotional stress can affect the body absolutely. Don't just think you can ignore these things. I have wondered now recently, this has been a bit of a wake-up call for me, which is also what's prompting me to do these videos. And I have wondered whether my chronic exercising has maybe contributed to some lack of hormones now. Does the body draw upon and use up all of its hormones? I've been weight training since my son was 2.5, since 2012. That is 8 years of almost non-stop training. Not that I went too crazy, but I would train on average 6 days a week, pretty much without a break. I would take a week off here and there for 8 years. Is that too much? It's possible that it is. If you have any questions or comments, please do leave them in the comment section below. I will link to Dr. Barbara Taylor's YouTube series in the description portion. Please, this is just a simple, humble video. I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor, I'm just sharing my experience, and I will tell you when I start the ProGel how I feel on it. I just fully want you to feel your best because I haven't been feeling my best, and I feel like I'm getting answers now, and it's very exciting. And it's so interesting to learn about the hormones that are in our bodies. I carried a healthy baby to full term, so clearly in my early 30s, or it was my late, I was 29 turning 30, clearly I had enough progesterone then to support a healthy pregnancy, a growing baby. I mean, back then, all I knew about progesterone was that it rises in pregnancy and it's responsible for making you feel sleepy. And I'm not the best sleeper. I'm quite a light sleeper in general all my life. And I remember during pregnancy, I think the middle phase of my pregnancy more, I would just drop off to sleep, left, right, and center. If we sat down to watch a movie, I was lights out, which never happens for me. So I kind of always thought of progesterone as the sleepy hormone, the relaxing hormone. And its function during pregnancy is to stop your uterus contracting, I believe, so that you don't expel the pregnancy. So if your progesterone is low, it can lead to miscarriages. It's highly linked to fertility, of course. So if you're battling to fall pregnant, you must get your progesterone levels checked. But for the discussion today, we're talking about progesterone as it relates to perimenopause. It is the first hormone to drop off naturally or to get lower, but it shouldn't be so super low because my tests are relative to my age, so they're looking at what's normal for a woman my age. And yes, I do need to supplement. And during perimenopause, it's kind of normal or typical to use progesterone only until you hit menopause, because usually your estrogen would still be higher, the highest of all the sex hormones that do drop off until you enter menopause itself, which is why they use progesterone. And the last thing I learned about progesterone, which is pretty interesting, is that it can be converted into testosterone or estrogen in your body, by the body. However, that conversion apparently is quite variable and not reliable, not predictable. So if the doctors do want to raise different levels, they won't just use progesterone and hope that your body will convert it to testosterone. So for example, I have low testosterone too, but the doctor's not telling me to stop that and only use progesterone. No. He's telling me to stay on the testosterone at the certain small dose level and then add this in days 8 to 26. But when we do retest in 2 months' time, there may be, it would be quite interesting to see, there may be a rise in estrogen. Maybe my body converts it, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But that would be interesting to see. Apparently, if you go too high with progesterone, you can get quite moody, but also too low can cause anxiety, especially in the luteal phase. The luteal phase is the second phase of your cycle, close to when you have your period. So it's very interesting how hormones affect your mood, and they also affect your brain function. So fascinating stuff, really fascinating. I love it. I'm such a nerd. I love researching all of this, and I just thought, why hold all this into myself? Maybe I explained it in such a way that it makes sense to you and you get an understanding of it. So it's definitely a hormone worth testing if you are not sure whether you're in perimenopause. I personally feel that for me it's confirmed that yes, I am. They say that progesterone drops from around the age of 35 onwards, slowly over a woman's natural sort of life cycle. Some of us, things can change and drop quicker than others. I hope you enjoyed this video. You are gorgeous. You are awesome. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up, please. And share if this helps anyone. Bye.